Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said yesterday's Russian attack on Ukraine was the most massive missile attack since the invasion began in February. He added that the longer Russia feels it may act with impunity, the more dangers there are. Most of the missiles were aimed at energy infrastructure. I urge you to follow safety procedures and stay in shelters. According to United States intelligence sources, at this point there is no indication that the explosion in Poland was a deliberate act of aggression by Russia. The missile was not fired from Russia, and this reduces the likelihood of an intentional attack.
And I briefed them on my discussions with President Duda of Poland, as well as NATO Secretary General Stoltenberg. And we agreed to support Poland's investigation into the explosion in rural Poland near the Ukrainian border.
The explosion in Przewodów has caused strong concern among Poland's allies. The Pentagon is cooperating with Warsaw and keeping all the information gathered up to date.
Missiles have struck a location inside Poland near the Ukraine border. I can tell you that we don't have any information at this time to corroborate those reports and are looking into this further. And so when we do have an update to provide, we'll be sure to do so.
Of the cooperation we have had on sanctions to hold Russia accountable for its war against Ukraine. It's a barbaric war.
At 10 a.m., an emergency meeting of NATO was held. The Assembly of Ambassadors in Brussels was led by Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, who gave assurances that there would be full support and commitment to Poland's security.
The incident is ongoing, and we need to await its outcome. But we have no indication that this was the result of a deliberate attack. And we have no indication that Russia is preparing offensive military actions against NATO.
Yesterday's events, namely the massive Russian attack on Ukrainian cities and the explosion on Polish territory, also raised concerns among G20 leaders gathered at their summit in Indonesia. The main topic of discussion was the war in Ukraine and the resulting threats to global food and energy security. A few hours ago, I spoke with President Andrzej Duda about the incident. What has occurred is of great concern to us, and the circumstances of the incident must be clarified immediately. Yesterday's missile attack on critical infrastructure in Ukraine is an indirect attack on civilians. This is an unacceptable form of warfare. At this point, we do not have complete certainty to determine the circumstances under which the missiles were launched. Therefore, we remain cautious in making judgments. Information is reaching us about the preliminary findings of the United States in this case. All countries are working with the Polish government to ensure that the final announcement is factually correct. Meanwhile, China's foreign ministry is appealing for people to remain calm. According to the authorities in Beijing, only a cool-headed view of the situation will ensure a positive outcome to the investigation. All parties involved should remain calm and restrained. China's position on Ukraine is clear. The conflict should be resolved immediately through diplomatic means. Since the beginning of the conflict in Ukraine, the European Union has been calling on member states to cooperate on security and arms purchases to avoid an exponential rise in prices through increased demand. President of the European Parliament, Josep Borrell, said he sees a positive sign in the expansion of military budgets in the European Union.
Supplying arms to the Ukrainian army. These arms were not produced on the spot. They were taken from the stocks. So the stocks have to be replenished.
We also discussed the explosion in Poland near the border. We offer our full support to Poland and assistance with the ongoing investigation. We will remain in close contact with our partners on the next steps. We will stand with Ukraine as long as it takes.
The North Atlantic Alliance has so far made no additional decisions on strengthening Poland's air defence. Initially, the Polish authorities considered activating Article 4 of the NATO Treaty, which introduces immediate consultation whenever the territorial integrity, political independence or security of a country is threatened. But based on a preliminary analysis of yesterday's events, it was decided that Article 4 should be saved for possibly more serious circumstances.